Hey guys, I wanted to do something a little bit different today. I was talking to somebody about no contact, this idea of no contact to try to reconcile with an ex-partner. There's a lot of stuff about it online. And this is somebody who did do no contact and found that it made things worse. And they found that doing no contact actually made them feel more needy. So in today's video, I wanted to break down why doing the no contact rule actually makes you more needy when it comes to speaking with your partner or ex-partner. I want to be clear, I understand there are many different reasons why people choose to do this no contact rule, so I won't belabor my opinion on it, but the truth is that no contact is very limited in its use, and oftentimes it can be misused or give off the wrong signals to a partner that you are looking to reconcile with. But specifically, when it comes to neediness, I want to talk about why the no contact rule can actually create more neediness within yourself and actually destroy attraction when it comes to trying to reconcile with your partner. So here I just put together a couple of slides, I guess, just on this idea of no contact. That's supposed to say no contact, so apologies for my spelling mistake there. Like I said, this is just a little thing that I wanted to talk about today, but this is about no contact, neediness, and outcomes. I promise I'm way more professional than this makes it seem. So I wanted to talk about why no contact makes you more needy. So this whole idea of no contact, cutting off all contact with an ex-partner means that you don't speak to your ex, right? But inside, you want them to speak. You want to speak to them. You want to have those conversations. You still feel like you would like to be in contact, but you're forcing yourself to not speak. So the want doesn't go away. It's still there under the surface. And then often what happens is they reach out, or you hear something about them, they maybe pop up on social media, whatever it is. Something happens where you have some form of contact with them. They could reach out about logistics, whatever it is, but you have some sort of contact with them. It may not be direct contact, but it could be indirect contact, hearing about them from somebody else or whatever it is. So you hear something about that. Because internally, you still have that want to speak to them. You still have that desire, it still feels important. This reinforces the idea that speaking with them is rare and important. It creates this scarcity idea. So it actually reinforces your existing feelings. So this is really important to understand, is that it doesn't take away those feelings. But when you do get a dopamine hit from hearing about your ex or seeing them, or they reach out for some logistics, you still get that dopamine hit from them. And that reinforces this want to speak, and you end up feeling better. You end up feeling that little spike of reward from speaking with them. And then you get into this idea of, oh, no, I shouldn't do. I'm doing the no contact rule. I shouldn't speak with them. It was wrong for me to speak with them. You kind of push down this urge to reach out. So then again, you get back into the same cycle of you don't speak to your ex for however long it is, 30 days, whatever arbitrary number that is made up. And it creates this cycle. But this cycle becomes a feedback loop. So not only does it perpetuate, but it actually gets worse. And this is what, when I speak to a lot of people, they found that when they do the no contact rule, when they cut off contact with their ex-partner, they actually end up feeling worse. They end up feeling more needy. So when they do eventually speak with their partner, which most people do, whether it's to reach out to try to reconcile a relationship or whether it's reaching out for logistics, whatever it is, they actually end up feeling more needy. They actually end up feeling like each interaction is really important. And then they end up pushing their partner away because their partner, who is carrying on with their life, their partner feels this extreme neediness from them because you've had this internal feedback loop where you've built up this idea of your partner in your mind, and you've reinforced this idea that speaking to them is scarce. So you have this scarcity mindset, and it ends up feeling worse. So this is what members and I talk about when it comes to the difference between the process versus the outcome. And a lot of people speak about this in self-help, self-development, self-improvement. I think it's James Clear that has spoken most recently about it. So definitely, if you want to dig deeper into that, then definitely dig into that. But the reason why we talk about focusing on the process is because the more importance that we put onto the outcome, the more psychologically we create a scarcity kind of mindset for it. So, for example, when we think about interactions and we think about all of the interactions before a breakup or during a rough patch, whatever it is, and we think about all these negative interactions that could have been better, and you've looked back and you're like, oh, I should have done that, should have said this, you had all these regrets, right? So you think about all of the bad outcomes that happened along the way. And then you speak to your partner or ex-partner, you have a good interaction with them or a neutral interaction with them. You're like, oh, she was nice to me. Do you think she felt safe? Do you think she felt good? Do you think she or he felt, did I communicate okay? And when we're focusing on the outcomes, they feel really scarce and really important. And we cling on to them like a rare gem. That's the best way I can think of putting it. We think of them as like diamonds in this sea of awfulness. So we raise them up like it's massively important. The thing is that focusing on an outcome makes our peace of mind dependent on things that are external to ourselves. So when we focus on these outcomes, it's our partner or the money that we get every month from our job, on what type of car we own, on what type of partner we have, all of these outcomes, the more that we focus on these outcomes, the more we put our emotional peace dependent on them, on things external to ourselves. So what happens is that we end up trying to find validation from a partner, from owning a car, from owning a house, or living on a certain street, or having a certain job. The more we focus on those outcomes, the more we focus on these external things, the more our peace of mind starts to become dependent on it. And this is why sometimes if you meet really super rich people, there's usually two types of rich people. There's rich people that focus on the process. They usually don't live extravagantly. They just live in a normal way, but they're focused on doing their best and grinding away at the process, and they're not bothered about the outcomes. Then there's the other type of rich person who is all about the outcomes, constantly having to be validated by the newest car, the newest technology, parading their wealth around because they need that validation. They become very needy on the outcome. But the more that we focus on the outcome, the more that we need the outcome in order to validate ourselves, and the worse we feel long term. So focusing on outcomes makes our peace of mind dependent on things that are external to ourselves. But when we focus on the process, which is the most important thing, and we focus on how we show up day to day, the things that we do. So if you're looking to rebuild your relationship with your ex-partner, rather than focusing on whether you're with your partner or not, whether you're speaking with your partner or not, focusing on the process to become the best version of you, working on your communication skills, your emotional regulation skills, on filling your cup, the more that we focus on that, first of all, it's easier to see how outcomes happen. We are able to see how we earn those outcomes the more that we focus on the process. We celebrate the process. We're able to check off day after day. This is what I did today. This is the effort that I put in today. I went to the gym. I worked on this mindset. I worked on this communication skill. I worked on this skill for my job, whatever it is. The more that we focus on that, the easier it is to see why outcomes happen. We can see how we earn outcomes because we're able to look at all of these successes. So rather than seeing a bunch of red, we're actually looking at a lot of green. We're able to pat ourselves on the back and be like, wow, these are the achievements that I had in terms of effort. It's a lot easier to celebrate, first of all, because everything is within our control. But it's a lot easier to see how outcomes happen. And it reinforces why the invisible work, the not so fancy work, is so important to outcomes. Not everyone, but when people do become successful, a lot of the time, not all the time, because there's a lot of luck involved and inheritance and things like that, but a lot of the time, people get money through hard work, right? Through being smart with their investments, etc. It's through in a lot of invisible work, and it takes a long time to get there. And that's why it's so important to focus on this rather than the outcomes. And this is the difference, is being the change, celebrating the process, and the outcomes come as a secondary result of this. So this is why when we focus on the outcome, our brain goes into this, don't lose this kind of state. So in talking with your partner or ex-partner, if you're constantly trying to be in no contact, and then something happens and your partner reaches out, or you do get in contact, your brain gets into this scarcity mindset. Don't lose this kind of mindset. And it actually creates what we call the paradox of control, which is we grab onto that outcome. We're like, oh my God, this is my one and only shot to really impress her or him. I need to make sure that I do this right because, oh my God, I'm never going to get this chance ever again in my life. And we get into this very needy state, and we get into this mode where we try to control the outcome. So the more we try to secure the outcome, the more we end up pushing it away. So the more we have this scarcity mindset when we're speaking with an ex-partner, the more we panic and become very needy and feel like we have to talk about the relationship and how much we care about them and all the things that we're doing to change. We start to show off and we get into this very, very needy state. So our brains actually get into a worse state the more that we try to push ourselves into this no contact mode. And this is what I talk about a lot with new members who are shifting away from this no contact idea and want to put in the long-term work in order to cultivate a relationship that is strong and healthy and focused on growth. It's a very different mindset, but it does create a stronger, healthier bond between you and your partner because it means that every time you interact with them, no matter when it is, you're not in this constantly needy state. You're not in this constantly do or die kind of state. And the outcome becomes less scarce and more easy to replicate because the work is being put in behind the scenes on the self-growth. And this is always what's really important, is that when relationships break up, the work that you put in on self-growth has a direct correlation towards the outcomes that you have in your life, not just in your relationships, but in your career, in your health, in your hobbies, friendships, everything. It has a massive impact when you put in the deep work, and that's what's most important. And that's exactly what I work on with all of the members, is making sure that you're putting in the effective work in order to build the right skills that have that massive impact on rebuilding a relationship. And if you do want to join us, then join my relationship bootcamp where you'll learn the same fundamental steps that all my members start with to start turning their relationships around. All you have to do is click on the link in the description to grab your spot. So knowing what is the effective work, the invisible work behind the scenes that is going to have the biggest influence on repairing a relationship with your ex-partner is really important. Not only that, but knowing the stages of relationship repair in order to make sure that you are keeping up with the right process to navigate each stage of relationship repair. So I'm not going to dig into the stages of relationship repair here. I've done a deeper dive on it, which I'll link to on the screen. But every stage of relationship repair will have a different level of what we call expectancy bias, which is the amount of resistance to your change from your partner or ex-partner. So it's really important to know how to navigate that. So I'm going to leave you with that deeper dive video, and I will see you over there.